Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monroe Show. So today I have here with me Mr.
Hello, everyone.
And today he'll be telling us about his film, Xoxo. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Yeah, yeah. So, Mr. Bear, tell me about XOXO.
Well, Mrs. Marilyn, my film is based on the main character, Catherine, also known as throughout the movie as Kat. So, Kat is hanging out with her friends throughout the film, going to do normal teenager things, going to the mall, going to the park, having a sleepover. Throughout all of these events, Kat is being stalked by someone that she doesn't know. Throughout the movie, it'll be known as Unknown Sender. So she's being stalked by this person. This person takes pictures of her, sends her pictures, gives her warning messages, threatens her life, threatens her friends, all of this stuff, and Kat has no idea what's going on. So throughout the movie, Kat decides to not inform any of her friends about the messages she's receiving. She decides to keep it to herself because she doesn't want anyone to find out the secret she's withholding. However, during the beginning of the movie, Kat goes missing during their sleepover, and her friends are forced to go through her phone to try to figure out what's going on.
Interesting. So, Mr. Bear, how does your product use or even challenge typical conventions in this genre?
Well, Mrs. Marilyn, my product more of uses the typical conventions that are found in thriller genre. One of the most common conventions that my film uses from the thriller genre would be the use of suspense throughout the film. Throughout the film, the audience doesn't really know what's going on with Kat. You can't even really see the messages, but you can tell Kat got a threatening message. This causes the audience to be on the edge of their seats trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Who's the killer? Who's texting her? What's happening with Kat? These are all questions that should be happening throughout the audience's head. Another thriller convention that is used throughout our film is the use of suspenseful music. Despite these more common conventions that are found in the average thriller movie, we also use some conventions that are found in different thriller movies depending on what the plot would be. An example of one of these conventions would be making the movie seem like everything is just normal. Like how in the beginning of the film, you can see that everyone is just having a good time. It's just normal people just out having fun. And then suddenly you start seeing all the suspense building up as Kat starts getting these threatening messages throughout the film. Piggybacking off of the suspenseful messages, a lot of movies in the thriller genre also use some type of anonymous person or message or something to create some tension and suspense amongst the film to give more thrill towards the audience.
That's a great way to say it. So, how would you say that your product represents social issues and some social groups?
I would say that my product actually represents many issues around the world. Some of the issues that are addressed throughout my film are stalking, withholding information from people that care about you, and cyberbullying. Stalking is a very serious issue that occurs all around the world. Many people, especially young girls like the girls inside of my film, don't tend to see the problem with what's happening and just brush it off, as well as hide it from people that care about them, which is another social issue that we bring about in this movie. Hiding things from people that you care about is not something that should be done, especially when it's something that's dangerous like this. In my film, a cat isn't holding something from her people that is something as simple as I crossed the street without permission. This is something serious. This is something about her life. She's getting messages that are threatening her life. And not only threatening her life, eventually they start to threaten her friends as well. Kat should have immediately alerted someone, whether it be her friends or her family, somebody she should have alerted to let them know about the messages she's receiving. Because at this point, it's no longer a joke. which brings me to cyberbullying. There's a lot of times where something like this could happen amongst your peers, where someone just finds your number, creates a fake number, and just texts you and harasses you and all this type of stuff. And cyberbullying, especially around this generation, is something that occurs very often. So I feel like these are things that should be brought up more.
In what way does your product engage with the audience?
Generally, I feel like my product would engage with a variety of different audiences. The main audience that I feel like my product would reach out to would, of course, be those who are interested in thrillers due to this being a psychological thriller. And with it being a psychological thriller, we use a lot of suspense. So, of course, those people that like to watch suspenseful movies would love to see this movie. And there would also be some interest for those people that like to watch horror. Since these genres are so broad, they can go for many age groups. So really, there isn't a specific age group that this product would reach out to, because elderly people, middle-aged people, teenagers, kids, everyone likes a good thriller, you know? My product would also reach out to those people who are interested in the social groups as issues I mentioned earlier. This film could be used in some schools to make awareness to some cyberbullying issues, stalking, all of these type of issues. They could be used to bring awareness. For example, Netflix's 13 Reasons Why is a lot about suicide and bullying. So it attracts that type of audience and also brings a lot of awareness. And I feel like this movie would also bring that type of awareness to these issues.
How would your product be distributed as a real media text?
So in terms of this product being distributed as a real media text, there is many different ways that this can happen. So the main way this can happen is through advertisement. So with advertisement, there's so many different ways that we can advertise this movie. We can do this through social media, magazines, posters. All of this stuff would be media text. With social media, they have it to where like people will scroll through their social media, just scrolling through Instagram, and then bam, there's our ad. It can show like a trailer real quick with a little summary of what the movie is going to be about. On YouTube, that's another example of a social media platform we could use. Before they watch their video, there's always some type of ad. We can take that ad and we can put our movie, add a trailer. When it comes to magazines, in this generation, people don't really use magazines as much, but magazines are still very much used by the middle age, Generation Y, Generation X type people. So we can still put it in those. When it comes to posters, we can use posters to distribute amongst just the regular community. In big cities, they have places where you can just hang up posters to bring more awareness to the movie. So there's really many ways that we can distribute the movie and make awareness.
How did your production skills develop throughout the creation of this project?
By the end of this movie, my production skills have advanced tremendously. One of the biggest ways that we had to expand our production skill level was through the titles. With the titles, we had to find a way to make sure not only the titles had the correct order and had the right names, we had to make sure that the titles went with the theme of the movie. For example, since our movie Xoxo was a part of the thriller genre, we decided to make sure that our titles were of some type of scary font that gave you type of an eerie feeling. Also, speaking of the titles, that is another way in which my production skills have developed throughout this project. Before this project, I never really had to add a bunch of titles into something I was editing. So doing it this time made it more, in a way, a little bit more difficult, because I had to actually figure out how to do it on iMovie. And though iMovie has it to where it's not exactly as hard, what was hard was to add them and make it attractive to the audience. One of the other major ways that I had to increase my production knowledge was through my transitions. All my other productions I have made, my transitions weren't really necessary to really catch someone's eye. But with this being a thriller movie, it has to be able to catch an eye, keep you at the edge of your chair. So I had to really like make sure all my transitions meant something. Like there was a meaning behind everything that we did. So at the end of the day, I have really advanced through this project, and I'm honestly very grateful I got this opportunity.
How did you integrate technologies in the creation of your product?
So the main technology we had to use when it came to this project was our cell phones. We aren't really professional producers, so we had to use our phones because we don't have any type of camera to film. Having to use our phones though didn't really make the quality of the product suffer because we all had good quality iPhone cameras, so it wasn't really that bad. However, we did have to learn how to really use the settings of the camera to get the best that we could out of the iPhone camera because it's not as good as a good quality filming camera unless you truly know how to use it. Another technology I had to use when it came to filming this project was by using iMovie. iMovie is an editing software that is typically found within MacBooks, iPads, and iPhones, basically any Apple product that allows you to really download apps and things like that. So we use that to edit because we all have Apple products, and that's one of the easiest things that we had access to edit because we had to make sure it was an easy thing that we could use. There was no watermark, and it just something that was easier. Though we didn't really necessarily want something that was just easy to just let us get by, we also wanted to still learn and advance in our technologies. But this was just an application that was available to us and gave us everything that we needed in order to give us the best product that we could possibly just give out to the world. So there were some other subtle technologies used throughout our film. So in the last scene, you will notice that the group of girls were watching TV. TV would also be considered a technology, and we had to use that as a prop to make it seem like the girls are watching TV. Though we did have the girls actually watch the movie to give a more realistic vibe. Another technology we used was a ring light for the house scene because it was kind of dull and we wanted to give like a good lighting because at the other scenes for the mall and the park there wasn't really a place for us to really get good lighting, so we had to use whatever lighting we could get. Other than that, those are all of the technologies I personally have used, though I do know that my editor for my production has used other technologies. But for me personally, all I've used was iMovie, a television, a ring light, and my cell phone.
Wow, it has been great to hear from you, Mr. Bear. Everything you said has just really spoken to me today. And I am so thankful that you have come on the Monroe Show. Everybody, give him another round of applause. Yes. We really appreciate you coming in today, Mr. Bear. And thank you for your time. One more time, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Miss Merlin. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys again soon. I hope to see you at the release party. It just has been so great being here today. Thank you, everyone.
It has been my pleasure having you on the Monroe Show, Mr. Bear, and we hope to see you again soon for your next spectacular film.